Okay, so let's talk about this drill. You should have hopefully had enough time to look it over, maybe use your notes from last class, try and figure this thing out. First problem, angle C is inscribed in P. Remember that P, because it's located at the center, describes the circle. So here is angle C right here, that angle right there. And it also tells us that line segment AB is the diameter of circle P. So the line segment from A to B all the way through here, that is the diameter. That's important because that basically splits the circle in half. And it tells us that since angle C extends out to A and B right there, that since that hits where the diameter hits, that this part of the circle right here, we know since that's half of the circle is 180 degrees, which means that this inscribed angle over here, angle C, has to be a 90-degree angle. Because if that's 180 degrees, then this one has to be 90. And since we already know that angle A is measuring 38 degrees because it tells us not only up here, but it also is written right here, that means the remaining angle also has to add up with 38 to get 90, since the entire triangle must add up to 180. So this remaining angle, angle B over here, which is the one we're looking for, angle B has to be 90 minus 38, which is going to be 52 degrees. So there's angle B. Okay, and again, remember that only works because the diameter cuts the circle in half, and the angle C is inscribed on one half of the triangle, which means it actually, or one half of the circle, which means that the point actually hits the circle right there. And that means since it extends out to A and B, it has to be half of 180, which is 90. All right, let's try the second one. Angle F is inscribed in circle P. So here's angle F right there. It is inscribed in circle P, and it tells us that DE is the diameter once again, and you can kind of see that's the case because it goes right through the center, extends to both sides, which again, because of the fact that that means that this whole side over here is 180, that means that this angle, which is formed right here, has to be 90 degrees. So there's your 90-degree angle. It tells us that angle D measures 67 degrees, so that part is given to us right here. And it wants us to find measure of angle E over here. So once again, we know that 67 plus something has to add up to the other 90 because we already have the 190-degree angle at angle F. So once again, angle E, just like we did on the other one, is going to be 90. That is supposed to be an E right there. Excuse me, it's going to be 90 minus our 67, which is going to be 23 degrees. Again, hopefully you had a chance to figure that out. Okay, let's look at the next page, or the next two problems. This time, number 5 here says that we've got quadrilateral IJKL, which you should be able to see is inscribed in the circle. It tells us that angle I measures 92 degrees and angle L measures 83 degrees, and those are marked. Find the measure of angle J. And since we have an inscribed quadrilateral, the one thing that we should remember is that opposite angles, or the angles which are directly across from each other, have to add up to 180 degrees. So if I want to find the measure of angle J, I'm looking for which one is across from that, which is L. So these two are across from each other, and those two have to add up to 180 degrees. So the measure of angle J is going to be 180 minus 83, which works out to 97 degrees. Excuse me, so that's the measure of angle J. We could easily find the measure of angle K as well if we needed to. It's not asking for it, but that would be opposite of our 92-degree angle. All right, and then number 6, quadrilateral ABCD is inscribed in circle A. Excuse me, in the circle. It tells us angle A is 92 degrees, angle D is 110 degrees. We want to find the measure of angle B. Well, angle B is opposite, it looks like, of angle D. So once again, those two will be supplementary, or meaning they will have to add up to 180 degrees. So angle B is going to be 180 minus 110, which works out to 70 degrees. All right, so that should take care of our drill. Okay, if you feel comfortable with that, you can move on to the lesson videos for today.